thank you all for joining us for part 2 in the Passion Pivots series of webcasts. And today we is part 2. Part 1, which was about a month ago, we talked about visioning and trying to create a vision that was very compelling for you. And Natalie and I were just spitballing, talking back and forth about how unique that can be for each one of us. If you have not seen that podcast, that webcast, it is available to you because we would have emailed it to you through your registration. If though technology let you down and you didn't get it, just send us an email. I'm happy to send you the link for that one. Today's part 2 in our series, and we're talking about self-sabotage. You are looking at the expert on that, Natalie Blamondon-Thomas is the dentist of the mind to get the right thoughts going through you, and she's going to take a lot of today, and I'm going to learn a lot. I always learn a lot when I listen to Natalie. And then we have another one on October 4th, which is on health. So really this series of webcasts is on your vision, your mindset, and your physical health, which we believe are the pillars to take you towards your passion pivot. Is that sort of the message we wanted to get across, Natalie?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's right on.
Very good. Okay, she'll keep me right on task here. So that's awesome. So let's just go on. So thank you very much for joining us. You've got some contact for us there. Either one of us are happy to field your calls on this. Our passion really is, and the reason we're doing this is we believe that most people underestimate what joy they can have out of life, because life sort of trods upon us with our mindset and our careers and our families. And I mean, for the audience members today, put in the chat box here, how quickly did the last year or 2 or 5 go by? Did it take a long time, or are they just wisping on by?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing comments here, what year? It felt like 2 weeks. And
yeah.
That's sort of that sentiment where things just keep going by. And a long time ago I used to work with wildlife, and one of the things with working with wildlife is I would go to seniors' homes to do animal therapy programs, pet therapy. Yes, with mountain lions and other things, but that's another story. But I would ask these seniors at the homes, if they could give me some advice, and I was in my early 30s at the point, what would it be? They say you never realize how quickly life will go by until most of it's already gone. So if you're in your 40s and 50s, you already get a sense of how quickly life's going by. And what we want to do with Passion Pivots is make sure that we give ourselves every chance to enjoy an incredible journey, whatever that is for us, whether it's starting your own business, writing your first book, it's travel, whatever it is. Those 3 pillars of having a great vision for yourself, having a great mindset, and taking care of yourself physically so that you have the physical energy and strength to do all these things is really where the foundation of Passion Pivots is. So Natalie, with that in mind, I'm going to we've already talked about these things. You see, Natalie would have done this in sequence here. I did that just a little bit advanced, but there's the visual for those of you who want that, is meshing the heart, the head, and your health to get what you would like to have. And so with that in mind, Natalie is going to take over here, and she's going to be talking about the double S word, self-sabotage. Natalie, thank you so much for bringing your expertise here today.
Well, that's my thing. That's what I do. The main, I've been coaching for 11 years, and only about 3 years ago, I discovered that was my favorite thing. That's when I realized that everybody once in a while does the reverse of what they know they should be doing. And I had been a knowledge person, thinking that I wanted to create and share as much knowledge as possible with people, when I realized that even when people know what to do, sometimes they don't do it. Sometimes they do the reverse of what they know they should be doing. And it's so knowing and not doing is like not knowing at all. So I stopped sharing knowledge on stuff and started to study more neuroscience. I started that journey about 10 years ago with neuroscience, and then I realized this has got to be my main message. Why are people not doing what they know they should be doing? Because that was my biggest question. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why are Why are we wasting time on social media? Why are we eating burgers and fries and still drinking pop when we know it's not good for us? So why are we doing these things? So the self-sabotage is created in your head. So if you want to go to the next slide, I will talk about how sometimes we feel that we are chained to ourselves and that we can't help it. We feel that like as it happened to you sometimes, Scott, that you know something and you feel that you don't really have a choice, that you're forced into doing this somehow, that you've done that to yourself and now there's no way out.
Yeah, just even this trip to Toronto for the last little while, I was with friends, and I was just telling my daughter this morning and Larissa that I don't think I had a healthy meal in 10 days. And every time I chalk down a burger or fries or ribs or pizza, I go, it's not good for me. And you know, I didn't find that I was being forced to do it, but I didn't have the strength to break out of the norm of what everyone else was doing. And so I followed along, a weakness.
Yeah, sometimes we're being driven by others. So let's talk about the logical mind and the unconscious mind. So those are the two main parts of the brain. There are many parts of the brain. Those are the two I want to talk about today. So your logical mind can handle 5 to 9 things at the time. That's the voice inside your head. That's everything that you think. That's everything that you say. And we can multitask because 5 to 9 things is pretty good. So I'm not sure why people are saying that you can't drive and text at the same time, because 5 to 9 things we could technically, but let me tell you why we can't text and drive. Do you text and drive, Scott?
No, actually, I don't when it started, and I don't know if our audience did this too. You know, I thought new thing I could do that, but I think 5 years ago, not a chance. Done.
Awesome. So, you know, when you're driving, you're getting closer to a destination, and let's say you're looking to a number on the houses for the first time, and you're trying to look for the place, and as you arrive closer, you have to lower the music on the radio. Does that ever happen to you?
Yep.
So somehow, as you have your foot on the brake and the accelerator, and then there's a red light there, there's a kid that's about to cross the street, there's this woman that's going to cut you off, and then there's this guy on his Camaro beside you winking at you, and you're like, gross. So somehow when you add looking at the numbers on the houses, the music becomes the one too many, because 5 to 9 gets overwhelmed pretty quickly. Another thing I can tell you about the logical mind, and you can switch the slide whenever you're ready, is the logical mind is 70% negative. So following the research of Dr. Raj Raghunathan, he found out that 70% of what we tell to ourselves is negative. So we talk down to ourselves. Like we wouldn't have any friends if we talk to them the same way we talk to ourselves. So, and out of this 70% of negative thoughts, we have 86% that is the same thing than yesterday, and the same thing than last month, and then the year before. So wow. Somehow we keep repeating the same crap over and over and over. What do you think, Scott? Is it something that
I was at a conference yesterday, a leadership summit, and we were contemplating a new, business model, and the instructions from the facilitator were this: please think of all the positive possibilities of this new model. Nobody could do it. They go, well, we could try this, but. So staying in the positive, that's a perfect example for what you're saying too. It's very hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's science, it's research, and we're not bad people because it happens. It's just a reality, and we need to start reprogramming that head, that voice inside our head. So here's how we do it. You start tapping into the unconscious mind. So your unconscious mind can handle 2.3 million pieces of information every second. Let me repeat that. 5 to 9 for the logical mind, 2.3 million pieces of information for the unconscious mind. That is where the money is. So do you want me to teach you how to use that unconscious mind and how to tap into that power? Yes or yes? Yeah?
On behalf of everybody who's listening here, yes, please. Yeah.
It's very simple. Actually, that unconscious mind is like a personal assistant in your head. So let's say you get up in the morning and you talk to yourself. So you look at yourself in the mirror and you go, oh gosh, I look so tired. Oh my gosh, I'm so stressed all the time. Oh, I don't want to be impatient with my kids anymore. I think I'm looking old. I think I'm getting fat too. So all these things that we tell ourselves, the personal assistant is standing right there with a notepad and writes that down. I am tired. I am stressed. I am impatient with my kids. I am looking old and I'm looking fat. Perfect, I got this. So then it goes through the list. What's my first order of the day? I am tired. Oh, what can I do? Oh, I'll keep them awake all night. Check. I am stressed. Oh, I'll make them forget something at home so that they have to turn around and go back. That's going to be stressful. Check. I'm going to be impatient with my kid. Oh, I can find something like I'll just make them angry for no reason at their kids. Check. Perfect. I am looking old. Oh, looking old. Okay, I'll make them eat some very bad stuff. I am getting fat. Oh, I'll find a chocolate cake or something deep fried. Check. So somehow our personal assistant makes everything happen for us, and it makes us right for our orders. So the problem is, let's say, for example, and I'll use a very simple example. Let's say somebody's trying to lose weight and they have placed their order because every day they tell themselves, oh, I'm overweight. Oh, I've got a big gut or whatever. So if they start exercising and they start doing something right, their personal assistant goes in panic mode and goes, hey, I'm not doing my job. They're supposed to be fat and now they're starting to lose weight and it's going well. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm not doing my job. Oh, here's a chocolate bar. I'm going to make them eat that. And people have been saying, oh, exercising is hard. I hate it. Exercise is hard. I hate it. So then they go, okay, maybe I'll make them twist their ankle. Perfect. Check. So that they're not going to think that exercise is easy because they're starting to like it now and they're starting to think that it's easy and it's supposed to be hard because that's their order. So you really want to be careful what you place as far as order.
So can I ask Natalie, I just wanted to welcome a few more folks here. Ernie, Grace, Larissa, Sandy, Dave. Hey, Steve, how are you doing? Brian, it's good to see you. Just wanted to say thanks for joining us. Does it make a difference if you think it or you say it to your personal assistant?
Not really. It does when you want to do affirmations, and we can talk about that too. When you do an affirmation, you want to say it out loud because not only you will just use an extra sense, you will also hear it, right? So when you hear it with your own voice, the thing is, whenever you think something, even if let's talk about affirmation, because let's say you do an affirmation in front of the mirror and everybody's heard about this and maybe you haven't, but it goes like this, would be like somebody looking at themselves in the mirror and say, I am successful, I am awesome, I am amazing. If inside your head you hear that, but your head says in your head, yeah, right, no, I know I'm stupid, you know, and if you say, oh, I am brilliant, yeah, right, I know I don't get it. So if you ask me, I would tell you that affirmation don't really work if you don't believe them. Okay. So it's never really a good idea to say these affirmation out loud if you don't believe them. So you want to use progressive statement. So an affirmation will work if it's well phrased. So you don't ask somebody that is living paycheck to paycheck to look at themselves in the mirror and say, I am wealthy. They're like, yeah, right. Like, you know, I can't even pay for grocery this week. I had to, you know, warm up some noodles or whatever. So what you have to do is to create a progressive statement starting with, I am willing to learn. So they would say something like, I'm willing to learn how it feels to be wealthy. Yeah, now the voice inside their head can say, yeah, that's true. And if somebody weighs 300 pounds, they can't look at themselves and say, I am thin. No, they're not going to believe it, but they can say, I'm willing to learn how it feels to be thin. I'm willing to learn, and when I work with people in grief, I'm working with a couple that have lost their daughter. That's awful. No kid should die before their parents. And they can't look at themselves in the mirror and say, life is beautiful, I am happy. No, it sucks. They just lost their daughter. So they can say, I'm willing to learn how it feels to be happy again. So that is a progressive statement. So that voice inside your head, whatever it says, and even if you say it out loud, it's not going to make it more true if it doesn't feel true. Does that make sense?
That's really well explained. Thank you.
So if you move on to the next slide, I just want to give you an analogy that works well. It's like we're the little ant that is working away, plugging away, and trying to get to their goal. So an ant has very small little feet and works really hard. So the ant is going to take one step by step and trying to bring their food to the colony, right? And it's going to be focused on their target and work really hard. And then you're doing everything right. And then let's say that you want to change career, you're going to put your resume together, you're going to hand out some resume, you're going to get a starting position somewhere, and then you're looking at your goal, and then you feel like you're going further and further away from your goal, and you're like, I don't understand, I'm doing everything right, I've got created my business, I've got my business cards, everything is, and I'm working hard. Why am I not getting closer to my goal? It's because sometimes the ant doesn't realize that it's standing on top of an elephant, and the elephant is going in the opposite direction. And then you can change the slide, Scott. So if the elephant is going in the opposite direction, the ant, no matter how hard it works, will never get to that colony, will never get to their goal. So Scott, do you think that the ant should step off the elephant?
It's a long way down, but yeah, you've got to get rid of that elephant.
Okay, so let me tell you, absolutely not. You do not want to get rid of the elephant. You don't want to step off the elephant. You want to talk to the elephant and you want to say, hey, bud, can you turn around? This is where I'm going. Can you imagine the exponential power that the ant is going to have if it talks to the elephant and says, hey, dude, could you turn around, please? Because this is where I'm going. And then the elephant's going to be there in 2 steps, while the ant could have continued to work for years to get there. So, you know, sometimes you see some people that are super successful, and like, how do they do it? Well, it's because they're using the elephant, they're using the unconscious mind, the astonishing power that we all have in our brain.
So just, you know, being mindful of the time too, I know we've got a fair bit still, but I know you've got a lot that you want to share today. Could you give us an example of, you know, turning the elephant around?
Yeah, so what you want to do is to start talking to your unconscious mind and acknowledging that it's there, and give yourself order, place your order, decide everything that you want, and talk to yourself. And every time you catch yourself say something like, oh gosh, I'm never going to get there, or I'm so stupid, or I'm not worthy of this, or these people are much better than I am, you have to catch yourself right away and say, reverse the statement and say, you know what? I'm going to work hard and I'm going to get there. I'm on my way to getting there. Or I know I am intelligent. I know I am brilliant. If you have a task to do, if you have something specific to do, every time I have to write an article, or if I have to pack for a trip or whatever, I would give myself an order before I go to sleep and ask my unconscious mind, hey, while I'm comfortably asleep, why don't you work on this and give me the answer tomorrow morning? Why don't you do my thinking for me? Because by using that power that you have and by acknowledging that it's there, who has a brain here on the call? Do you all have a brain? Like, do you all? Yeah, because if you do have a brain, you have that power. And there is a transformation that happens when you realize the power that you have, that there's nothing that can get in the way, because you have this elephant waiting for you. You just have not given your elephant any orders, or you've placed the wrong orders. So start saying what you want and not what you don't want. So make sure that you just say what you want. Because if you ask your contractor to paint your kitchen not blue, it's not going to know what color you want. So you can't say, oh, I don't want to be stressed anymore, I don't want to be broke, I don't want to be impatient, I don't want to be rushing everywhere, because then your personal assistant hears broke, rushing, stressed, and tired. So you really want to make sure that you tell your personal assistant and your elephant what it is that you want. So I want to be wealthy, I want to be whatever it is that you want.
Very cool.
If you move up to the next slide, that personal assistant will always deliver. Now, that's part of your language. That's how you talk to yourself. There's another thing that causes self-sabotage is the intention behind the behavior. The intention is what causes you to do this bad habit that you're doing. So sometimes you want to ask yourself, okay, what it is that I'm doing? And I'll give you the example of a client was a smoker, quit smoking except for 1 cigarette a day. And then after a few sessions, discovered that his father was a smoker, and his father had passed away. He had not accepted that his father had passed away, and this 1 cigarette every night was his connection with his father. So by understanding the reason and the intention behind the bad habit, now at night when he would get this cigarette craving, would just look at photo album, look at pictures of his dad, and then he did not have to have this cigarette because he would get this connection, talk to his dad or whatever it is. So you want to find out what is the intention behind the behavior. What does that do for you? If you're craving something sweet because your mom used to make that for you or whatever, well, just give a call to your mom. Or if she's no longer there, then look at pictures, do something, and figure out what it is that you're missing. What's the intention? And then the last one, if you continue to move the slides forward, so that was the intention. And then the next one is the limiting beliefs. So the limiting beliefs are the things that we believe are true. So you want to find out what they are for you and start rephrasing them. Because if you feel that work is supposed to be boring, and then you know that you know for sure that it's a fact, because a lot of people think it's a fact that you will always be broke in January after Christmas time, absolutely. Or if you start making more money, you will spend more and you will always live paycheck to paycheck because that's the way it is. There's a lot of limiting belief that we have that you can't live from your passion. You can't make money from something that you love, right? So there's a lot of limiting beliefs that you want to start rephrasing in order to really make a difference for your life, because it's not true. It's not serving you, and mostly you are making it up, because everything you think, you're always making it up. So you might as well make up something that serves you.
Absolutely. I mean, today is a prime example. You know, when I started the wildlife sanctuary almost 30 years ago, I hated, was feared, wanted to die for. I did not want to public speak. I hated public speaking. I remember my first audience of 20 people, and they were senior citizens, and half were asleep, and half were deaf, and half were blind. And I had this poor little hedgehog right in my hand, and I was like this, and just going, please get me out of here. And if, you know, I kept that belief, then, you know, I think it was 3 months later, I was speaking in front of 10,000 people at Rogers Arena in Toronto. And, you know, now 30 years into it, I love what I do. But you're right, you've got to let go of some of those limiting beliefs. And, you know, it's amazing the doors that open to you. Sorry, that's a little, you know, personal piece, but it's given me the career that I love.
Yeah, absolutely. I did keep my, I had a full-time job as I was building my business, and I've only let go of that full-time job about 2.5 years ago, but maybe 3 years ago. And it took me a long time, because I was afraid that maybe I can't make it on my own. It's not a real job. I always thought it was my sideline. It was just, you know, I was not letting go of that security, and I thought I needed somebody to send me a paycheck in order to be secure and safe, and then until I realized that I got this, and that's when I really started to make a lot more money, because I had my full attention into it.
So you're saying you can make a passion pivot and make money? You
Oh,
don't need to answer that yet. Oh yeah, and that's usually when money happens. That's usually when the money happens, because people are attracted to people who are doing things from a passion perspective and not purely a monetary kind of piece. So how does one, and maybe you said this, but how does one start, you know, letting go of a limiting belief? Because I've talked to lots of friends, and I just don't have your skill set to help craft that pathway to start going, you know, I don't need to be thinking this anymore. How do you get over those first few hurdles to start shedding it?
Well, the first part is to rephrase it, and you want to rephrase it with a progressive statement. Now, you want to go back to try to figure out what could have happened to you in your life that created this limiting belief? When did it start really? Like this whole money thing that you're worried about money all the time, was that because your parents used to tell you this? And whatever a belief gets created after a few times that it happens, right? Or in one very in one instant that was very traumatic for you, could be creating a limiting belief as well. And usually there's some negative emotion that are involved, and I'll call them negative for you guys to understand, but I don't think any emotion is negative. They're just powerful. Anger, fear, hurt, sadness, guilt. Go back to your past, and whenever it is that you felt really bad about money, maybe that contributed to that limiting belief. And now understand, what did you have to learn? What did this event teach you? Because it was not designed to teach you that you should be afraid of money for the rest of your life and living paycheck to paycheck. It was designed to teach you something else. What could have been the learning instead? So go back to these times. What are the things that your parents used to tell you? Maybe that you want to be aware of money, or the first time you got angry and upset maybe is when your sibling stole your favorite toy, and all you had to learn was, I need to learn that I have to share, and I have to be able to deal with a whole bunch of people around me wanting the same things that I want. So how do I deal with that? So what was your learning when this belief was created? So start thinking back and journal it, and then figure out, what did you have to learn? Because as soon as you receive the learning, those limiting beliefs, like those negative emotion, are like delivery truck. They were just designed to enter your driveway. You get the parcel, that positive learning, and then the truck goes back. The problem is that we keep piling the trucks in. We don't let the trucks back out, and we keep that anger, that fear, that sadness, that guilt. You need to let it go. Let that go. Let the limiting belief go and create something else. What really did you have to learn?
So here's another question for you, Dr. Natalie. A lot of folks who are, and on this call, 40, 50 years of age, there's another thing that gets in the way, and that's defensiveness. Because when we hear the term win, when we succeed, the corollary or opposite of that is that we lose or we fail. And here you have, you've introduced the word learning instead. So we can win, and if we don't win, the thing we want to do is have the presence of mind to look back at the situation and don't think of it as failure, but to be open to the learning that's involved. How does one who has a defensive posture, I didn't win, so therefore I'm just going to turn away from this situation as quickly as possible. I'm not going to see the learning. I'm just going to let my defensiveness take over. How does one sort of counteract that?
The thing is that when we face a challenge, and if it doesn't work, the problem is that we don't realize that it's because we face that challenge that we get this learning, that we will be able to get there. And without this obstacle, we would have never found the correct route, because I think we mentioned that before the call. The route is not straight. The route goes, we have to step off the side roads in order to get there. And when we step off the road and then we feel like it did not work out because it didn't go straight, and then we feel like we failed, it was just another learning. And the more you learn, the more you have failed, it's always a stepping stone towards your goal. And if you don't fail, if you don't have these learning experiences and these challenges, you're not going to get there. You have to go through those, and every time you fail, it gets you one step closer, because you've learned something, and now you're going to get to the next step. Like, we believe that, like, if you want to do something, and let's say you're wanting to drive home that night, and then you're driving home, and then there's a tree in the road, there's an obstacle. Most people, the problem is, we turn around and we go, oh, that's too bad. There's a tree in the road. I can't go home now. Gosh, I'm never gonna see my kids and my spouse. I'm gonna miss them. I'm never gonna have my house. I have to buy a new house and new home, new furniture and new clothes. No, you're not gonna do that. You're gonna turn around. You're gonna find another route. You're gonna get into, or you're gonna park your car, walk there, or you're gonna take a chainsaw and you're gonna cut the tree, because you're home is your home base. That's important to you. That's the stakes are high. So you're going to figure out a way. And the problem is when we hit these challenges, when we're going towards our goal, we do just that. We're like, oh, well, that's okay. That's not for me. That's just, it's too bad. And we kind of give up.
Here we do.
While we should have it, we should make it so important to us. You need to know why you're doing this, why you're wanting this. And if the stakes are high, you're going to grab that chainsaw and you're going to do whatever it takes. There is no turning back. Just like an infant that's starting to walk. Have you ever heard a baby say, oh, I'm trying to walk and I'm falling all the time. That's too hard. That's not for me. I'm just going to crawl. No, there's no turning back. They will walk. It's going to happen. So you have to make your dream so compelling. Whatever it is that you're working towards, why are you doing this? And then we touched that last time when we did the heart. So go watch that video if you haven't seen it yet. And it has to be very compelling so that you actually do it. You actually take the chainsaw, because there's no obstacle that is not worth fighting against and going through. And Winston Churchill said, when you're going through hell, keep going, go through.
Yeah.
Right?
The hard part is a lot of folks, when they're doing their passion pivot, they're already feeling downtrodden. So I guess, what I'm taking away from what you've been saying is that, remain tenacious in the pursuit of your goals. Do not surrender to, well, I'm doing okay. That there's a lot more for you than just okay. And if you just, one of the greatest thrills is overcoming an obstacle. You may not get to your destination. For example, I always wanted to be an Anthony Robbins in front of 20,000 people. May or may not happen, but because I came through the obstacle of getting through public speaking, a whole world has opened up to me. So I just encourage anyone who's listening here, whatever the obstacle is between you and your current best dream, your passion pivot, go through that, because just that learning along the way, that's the real value, honestly. It's not often just the destination, it's the learning that goes along. So very cool stuff. Are we on to the next slide?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, yes. This one here, the power of the posse. This is Natalie and I have a few more things if we can share with you. So if you're looking at mindset and what you're thinking for yourself, a lot of it has to do with the people that you hang with. And you may have heard this before, you are the average of the 5 people that you hang with. Please ignore that there's only 4 people in this picture. I think the 5th one just didn't make it up the mountain type of thing.
Taking the picture.
Pardon?
The 5th one was taking the picture.
Well, you see, there you go. You just took that whole obstacle, you crushed it, you learned from it. Now I'm going to remember to think before I speak when I talk with you. But the idea being is, if you take a look at the 5 people that you hang around with the most, do they raise your game, in terms of what you think you can do and the possibilities? Or are these one of the majority of people who, when you get to them, the first thing they tell you is their woes and their sows and what's going on and why things are bad and why they can't be done? Because you can have the most resilient mind, but if you're surrounded by people who are stagnating, and I don't believe things ever stagnate, they either grow or they decay. There's no equilibrium. Life is always changing that way. So what we want to make sure is that if there's people that you're surrounding yourself with now to start your own business, to travel, to write, to make a movie, whatever that adventure is for you, maybe if you're just younger and you're just starting out your career, you want to make sure you're surrounding yourself with folks who will not necessarily be aligned in that career, but who have ambition and growth and who see obstacles as challenges before them to be solved, as opposed to just having that surrender kind of mentality. So if you have that goal in your mind right now, whatever it is, are the current 5 people that you hang around with the most. And this is not marriage counseling, or partner counseling. So if your partner's one of the posse and they're not serving you, we're not touching that one. We're talking about friends and colleagues, okay? Do some people need to be scaled back in terms of the amount of time that you spend with them? Or is there some new people that you can get out and network with? I was just at a conference, as I mentioned, over the weekend. Met a couple new folks who I'd love to have as part of my posse, because they are just doing so many incredible things that I think I have a lot to learn from. And because we have a limited amount of time, you have to be selective about the time where you spend your time. Does that make any sense, Natalie?
Absolutely, absolutely. Sometimes it's, you did mention something about we're not marriage counselor, and we're not talking about that your significant other. However, it is very important to look at your significant other and to have these discussions with your significant other and say, hey, look, this is my dream, this is where I'm going. I would love if you could be on board with this for me. And just to realize that the person that you chose to spend your life with, it is important that they would be on board with your dreams, because they are there most of the time to give you that pat in the back when you don't feel like it. They're that person that will support you. And sometimes you have to have the hard discussion and say, hey, honey, I know you don't agree with this, but can you just be my cheerleader? I'm not asking you to tell me what to do, or I don't need your opinion. I need your support. Yes. Can you, right? And it's possible because usually with your significant other, there's something else. There's love, and love will go over that, you know, that do we agree? They're not your business partner, and that's fine. They don't have to be your business partner. You can say, this is my business, this is what I'm doing. Can you just be my cheerleader? Can you just be my support? And just, if I say that I want to do something, don't say, oh, I don't think you should do that. Just say, okay, I'll be right there for you. And then you have to be there for them too.
So they don't need to climb the mountain with you. They don't need to become an alpinist with you. But again, they're going to help make that environment possible so that you can pursue your dreams. Yes?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. The other one we want to talk about, and this is one when I go in front of corporate audiences, it is the topic around right now, and it certainly affects everybody's life who's on this call. Personally, is be aware of the false emergency. And what we mean by this is where somebody comes up to you and they create this incredible tense situation that something has to be done with now. It can be at home, it can be at work, it could be amongst your friends. And what they're doing is transferring this intense emergency situation and emotion over to you, hoping that you will absorb it and help solve the problem. The challenge is that the average person gets exposed to somewhere, they say by a 2016 study, 15,000 to 17,000 requests for attention every day. I am not a mathematician, but that's a lot of requests per minute. And what that does to your brain is it gets your brain on very reactive mode. And that's why the other topic that's become really popular is mindfulness. When we're on reactive mode, we don't really think about things. We try to sort of dish this one off, dish that one off, and just sort of get through them as quickly as we can. And often what we don't do is think about for a second, is this intense situation really worthy of the emotion that this person's bringing it to me? You know, why is this person actually bringing it to me in this state of mind? And so the idea here is just because somebody else is tense or upset does not mean you have to absorb that sort of challenging environment. Okay, and that's why we encourage folks, do not have your cell phone by your bed and be looking at it just before you go to bed or just as you wake up, because that's somebody else's to-do list for you. And they'll have tensions that are involved. That I had one this morning, Scott, I've got a call at 2 p.m. today for somebody who's looking to hire somebody. Could you help out? And, you know, please get back to me ASAP kind of stuff. And then going, okay, you know, there are genuine situations. This wasn't one of them. It was a quick one saying, yeah, no, I'm busy. I'm with a client right now. Can I help you on Friday? Well, wouldn't you know that emergency situation is now being dealt with on Friday instead of Tuesday. So, you know, just don't take a false emergency coming to your face at face value. Take the time and process. If it's somebody who's can significantly impact your life, i.e. your boss, you might have a slightly different skew on it. Okay, but by and large, most of the emergencies that are pretending to come to you now are in fact not emergencies. Natalie, anything to add on that one?
I do agree about the emergency. Sometimes we take messages, emails, text as emergency, especially the ones on Facebook messengers, as when you read them, the other person has seen that you've read them. So you feel like you have to answer right away because they saw that you saw it, right? You know, like with emails, at least people don't know if you've seen it. So you can choose not to respond right away. So those are part of these false emergencies. It's not necessarily somebody physically with you. You might want to choose a time to respond to emails, because we feel that when people are emailing us, they are deserving of a quick response. You can teach them how fast you respond to emails, and if you respond always right away, you teach them that. And you want to teach people what is your favorite mean of communication when they do have an emergency. Maybe they want to call you, because emails is not it, because you might choose to do your emails only at the end of the day, and you know that it is what it is. You want to teach them how you want to operate. What's your thing?
So a couple things. If you're in a corporate environment, you have a corporate job. When I go in and do the consulting piece, I always get managers or folks who are in a position of orchestration of other people, the C-suites and the directors, et cetera, to have a time in their office every day that, short of the world ending, nobody enters that door. And that way they have the comfort to go into deep thought, do that strategic thinking, move towards things that are really important. Same can happen at home, and I know we have several solopreneurs, who are on the call today, and you have to do that as well. Just because you're at home doesn't mean that somebody can come to you and say, hey, listen, the laundry needs to be done, the bed, all that kind of stuff. Give yourself, if the doors closed, or a time that, again, short of the world ending, you are not to enter this. And as Natalie said, you can train people to actually do this. The hard part is, there's a book called The Glow Child. And the Glow Child really takes a look at the power and addiction of that device that is in 99% of our hands right now. And it says that the pathways that form on the brain are the equivalent strength of heroin in terms of addiction. So that when you take a phone away from somebody, and it's really been interesting to see, if someone had to lose their phone or the wallet, an increasing amount of people will say, let the wallet go, but I got to keep the phone. So, in terms of responding, as you say, Natalie, to the immediacy, I would definitely try to have it, morning period, lunch period, after period, where you take a look at those kinds of email accounts, because quite honestly, most of the time it is a false emergency, and it shouldn't distract you from some deeper thinking. Deeper thinking gets you to passion pivots. Deeper thinking gets you to actions that actually mean something after today. And it's that kind of time that we're really trying to carve out for ourselves. Good point. I think we could talk about that one all day. I'm sorry if it went on a little bit long, but I see that as a major roadblock for a lot of folks here. And the last piece that we wanted to talk about today in terms of mindset is the ROI of micro kindness. And ROI is return on investment. Again, beautiful studies have been done where, going up and doing random acts of kindness for strangers. And, people say, well, I'm going to do that. It's going to make someone feel good. I think, about once a month, I still blow away the folks at Thrifties, because the person behind me, I say to them when we're in the checkout line, do you mind if I buy your groceries for you? And I go, what? What does he want? Suspicion comes all around. I said, no, I'm part of this group that we do random acts of kindness. And I said, listen, if you could, and you just do something for somebody else later on. And there's 10 checkouts. I would suggest 7 or 8 of them stop still. Stop, because somebody else is offering to buy $10 or $20 worth of groceries for some stranger. The ROI on that, where does it happen? Couple things. One is, 8 other people are going to go, huh, that's a neat idea. Maybe 1 or 2 of them will actually do it. But it's been shown that if you do micro kindness to people, things that are not necessarily family related or friend related, because they have a diminished value, but if you really just give to somebody where there's no expectation of return, what that does to your personal psychology in terms of feeling good for you as a entity, as a business owner, as a person pursuing a passion pivot are incredible. So what that means for us mostly to do, Natalie, is to get out of the what it's in it for me kind of motif and see how you can actually give to someone else back. And I think, Natalie, your career has been all about that. You find something with passion, you give. The money does come back to you, okay? But it's the giving that usually comes first.
Absolutely. What specifically happens in the brain is a chemical called oxytocin, and oxytocin um, is that kindness observance chemical. So the person that receives the act of kindness is going to be flooded with oxytocin, which is a very good chemical. The person that gives the act of kindness will also be flooded with oxytocin. And everybody at the other cash register, everybody that's observing it, are also receiving a shot of oxytocin because they are witnessing an act of kindness. So when you do something, you're not only doing something for the person, you're sending everybody a boost around you, and they are going to get addicted to that shot of oxytocin because it makes people feel good. And that's why they will more likely reciprocate because they will get craving for that act of kindness, oxytocin. So that's, the chemical that actually happens in your brain when that happens.
And when that oxytocin hits your brain, and we've all had it hit our brain, how do you feel afterwards? Don't you feel like, I mean, I certainly do, that the world is mine. I can conquer anything. So whatever I do next is just going to be absolutely, to use again Natalie's phrase, awesome. It is, just because I feel that way. So
Yeah.
it's not a totally selfless act to do. It benefits both sides. But in terms of pursuing your passion pivot, boy, a key step. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty good amount of content. We've been at it for about 45 minutes. I hope we haven't fire hosed you with too much, but we've got a lot of stuff that we've covered so far. So Natalie, can I pass it back to you for some of the next steps if folks wanted to take what we've talked about today and put it into their world?
Yes, absolutely. So first you have to start using your brain so that your thoughts, everything that you think, will get into action, will happen. So you always have to remember that. So get into your head and take control, take charge of your thoughts, because your thoughts will become your actions, and your actions will become your habits, and your habits are going to become your life. So you really want to be careful with that. Start building your passion pivot plan. So you've started with us a month ago with the heart. We did the head today, and then next we're doing what's the last one?
The health.
The health. The health. Exactly. So you want to stay on your journey. You want to continue to build your passion pivot plan, and take the time to celebrate. Take the time to enjoy the moment, because we did mention that a few times, that there is no there. It's just today. It's just today in the moment. And if you can't be happy today, it's not when you get there that you will be happier. You have to, happiness is a feeling, and you have the flick. You can flick the switch right now in your head, right? You have control today, and it can start happening right now, because the process is worth celebrating.
Okay, so we've gone through two of the webcasts of our three. The next one, as Natalie said, is going to be on health. We also have an event, and you already know this, but just want a reminder in case you haven't registered. It is a pretty small and intimate event. And again, as a register of the web series we're doing here, you certainly get a great value. So Natalie, can you just sort of tell us how this unfolds?
So the event is in downtown Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at the Post. We have, I think it's from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. It's a 4-hour training, so you will actually get to write down your full plan, rewrite your limiting beliefs. We will get really technical and practical, and we expect transformation at the end of the 4 hours. So it's really worth spending the day with us. The early bird rate is $89 instead of $129. So the early bird comes up on October 1st. You get a Think Yourself Successful ebook, one of my #1 bestseller, when you register before October 1st. And you also get to bring a guest for free. So $89. Divide that by 2, so it turns out to be about $45 per person. That's only until October 1st. After October 1st, there's no bring a guest for free anymore. So you have to start signing up before October 1st.
And by the way, just if I can, Natalie, I know your coaching rates, around $200 an hour. We have similar, yeah. So here we have a small intimate group. We've got both of us up here. My focus is on vision and business and how to get things done. You've got the brain doctor and Natalie, and it basically works out to about $10 an hour to have both of us in front of you in an intimate group. So we're kind of hoping that after these first couple webcasts, this seems like a good value to if a passion pivot's something that you'd like to do.
The thing is, you have to know your priority. You have to decide, yeah, that's something that I would like to do one day. Well, one day is a code for never. You have to start. You have to start doing something and take charge of your life. Get into the driver's seat and do it. Do something that you know will give you results, and get on board with the system, because we have created a system that works, that's proven. So get on board with it and start living your life. It's short. You gotta do this. It's
once you've crossed over to this place, you never want to go back. You just go, why did I take so long to do this? So I'm hoping that resonates with those of you who have been listening to us. So the last part of today is questions, and I'm just going to the question piece here. And we do have a question here. Just going to get okay. Question is, Natalie, maybe you can take this first one. It's from Doug. So Doug, thank you very much. Don't you think others can rob us of our passion if they don't agree with your vision or goals?
Yes, sometimes nobody can rob us of our passion. We can let people rob us of our passion. That's the thing. So very often we get drained by people. They don't necessarily do that on purpose, is that it's where they're at right now in their journey. So there's the first piece of respect that I always like to have, is to look at people with empathetic eyes and say, okay, I understand they're not there yet. There's no judging to have, and look at people and say, oh my gosh, this guy is such a jerk because he's robbing me of my passion or whatever. They're just not there yet, and that's okay. And it's to understand that sometimes we have to stay away from these people, or just happen to have less time for them, or be busy when they call. If they're a member of our family, we can't cut the umbilical. We can really say, okay, you're not going to be my brother anymore, you're not going to be my sister, you're not going to be my mom. They are still going to be in our life, and we still yet choose to see less of them if they are draining us. The first step is always going with respect and say, hey, maybe they're not there yet, maybe I can help them. So whenever they tell us something negative, we can ask, what would you like instead? And then try to switch it to something more positive. If you feel like they're really not on the same page as you, and they can't see your dream, and that's fine, because that's not, everybody has their own model of reality, and everybody's right in their own model of reality, then you might have to choose to spend less time with these people, and start, like Scott said, surround yourself with the 5 people that will lift your average, because we're only the average of these people.
And so, Doug, you could take a look too at new places to meet people that are like-minded. You know, whether if it's writing a book, there's a lot of groups that will write the book. If it's traveling, there's a lot of travel people. And as simple as getting in front of the computer and joining an online meetup group to start discussing about some of those things, to invite those new energies. I often view it like a car, that's sat for winter, or like my motorbike, when it sits for the winter, the gasoline can go stale. And we need to put fresh gas in our tank sometimes, to get us to those new places that we want to go to. So it's not like a culling, to use a hunting term, if we have any hunters on here. We're not killing anybody's relationship. We are changing its percentage of occupation of our time so that we can invite new people in there. And again, this past weekend, 2 people that I met, I've got to make time to connect with them, because it just was simply outstanding. So be open to that. And it's really cool what Natalie said. You bring new people into your life and you get jazzed about it, and you feel good about yourself and the possibilities. Wow, does that not radiate to folks who might not be there yet? You might be the reason they get there, to that place of positive change. And that's very cool in of itself. Okay. So now that being mindful of the time here, I think we've done everything we have wanted to, haven't we? Done. All right. So thank you all very much for joining us today. Our next one is on October 4th, our final webcast before our presentation, our event on the 20th of October.